When you become self-aware, and this is a gift I would love to give everyone, you realize that you are in charge of every single aspect of your life, from your health, your wealth, your love, your happiness, to your friends, to what time you wake up. Do you go to the gym? What are you posting from content? Literally everything. And it was like my world went from black and white to color, because now you have endless choice of literally every single micro thought and decision in your life. And whoa, you're like, wait, I can design all of this the way that I want.
This is Inside the RV. Inside the RV. You're joined by your hosts, artist manager Jacob Moore and music artist Ryan Ramirez.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 59 of Inside the RV. Once again, we've got another great guest. We have someone on who totally fits the theme of this podcast, and I'm so excited for this discussion. This is a personal development and growth and life coach who works with entrepreneurs and other individuals who want to develop themselves into the best version that they can become. I am so excited. Hailing all the way from Florida, this is actually our first Zoom chat ever, and we were talking a little bit before this that we got to do this more often. And so everybody, before I blabber too much, this is Rob Cressy.
Jacob, Ryan, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be jamming with you guys.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. So, you know, God, there's so much that we can talk about, but first and foremost, just give the listeners a description of who you are and what you do.
I'm a creating coach. I help people who are on a growth journey. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, for me, I'm all about lifestyle by design in creating the best version of yourself. And why in the world would I do that? Because I want to live my best life possible. And over the last decade plus, I have day by day reverse engineered the habits, routines, mindsets, ways of being, perspectives that you can create in the world to allow you to create a life that you love every single day, every single moment. I've got a podcast called Best Year Ever. And for me, Best Year Ever is a lifestyle and a way of being. Because how do you create your best year ever? You create your best month ever, week ever, day ever, hour ever, moment ever. And when you can understand that we live on a moment-to-moment basis, and we have the ability to be the architect and design the lens and the way that we show up in the world every single day, well, what I want to do is help others create that roadmap for freedom, self-creation, and the life they love.
That is so amazing, man. And I think that is just a testament to the inherent ability that we all have to be in control of our lives. I think that a lot of people think that maybe because aspects of their life they feel are out of control, they feel totally out of control of everything. And, you know, obviously, life is life. Some things you just can't plan for, but the reality is that you can shape your future. And by doing that, like you said, it's a thing that you do day to day. And so with that being said, you know, were you always like this? What was your self-development journey like to get you to this point?
No, complete opposite. The person you are hearing and watching right now was not this person 10 years ago. So it's like, how in the world did this happen? Well, when I graduated college with a degree in marketing, my dream was to work for an ad agency and be creative. I was like, oh man, I'm going to create ideas and brainstorm and come up with awesome marketing campaigns. But what ended up happening was I was unemployed for a year. I lived off my credit card. I legitimately paid rent with a credit card. I was as broke as you can get. I would take anything for a job. And the first job that I got was at a Fifth Third Bank call center, slinging home equity loans in a cube farm, making $10 an hour. I had no email access, no internet access. And I was Peter from Office Space. I hated my job. I showed up 7 minutes late, left 7 minutes early, and I lived for the weekends. And I was doing literally the last thing on earth, even though I was thankful to be making some money and not negative money in my life. And the next 10 years of my life was a series of sales jobs that were slightly more money, closer commute, and it wasn't my dream. It wasn't what I enjoyed doing. Eventually, I got really good at sales, but you can be great at something and make a crap ton of money and not wake up every day looking forward to doing it. And that's where I got to that point. And for the longest time, my dream was to work in sports and be creative. And I would write sports blogs and articles on my own with nobody paying me for 10 years at a time. Just, if you can do anything, what would you do? I want to talk about sports. Boom. So I just kept doing it until I got to a point where I said, I'd regret it for the rest of my life if I didn't give it a shot at making my dreams happen. I knew I belonged as a creator. I looked out there in the landscape. I saw what everybody else was creating. And I said, I am as good or better than everything that I see. I know this, and I will not regret for the rest of my life not making this shot, not taking this. And boom, that's when I cut the cord and left a 6-figure salary for going all in on my dreams and going to $0 overnight. And it was amazing because 2 things happened that changed my entire growth journey. Number one, when you go down to zero for me, the second time, you sit there and you're like, all right, everything's on me now. What am I going to do? And I was like, I'm going to audit the success habits of the most successful people, the people that I aspire to be like and do things like. I'm like, what are the habits and routines and mindsets and ways of being? What are the things that they're doing to get to where they were? And because of this, number one, I became self-aware. And Jacob, you'd mentioned how people think that there's like things that are out of their control. No. When you become self-aware, and this is a gift I would love to give everyone, you realize that you are in charge of every single aspect of your life, from your health, your wealth, your love, your happiness, to your friends, to what time you wake up. Do you go to the gym? What are you posting from content? Literally everything. And it was like my world went from black and white to color, because now you have endless choice of literally every single micro thought and decision in your life. And whoa, you're like, wait, I can design all of this the way that I want. And then number 2 would be I adopted a growth mindset. So I kept hearing the average CEO reads 60 books a year. I'm like, crap, I'm reading 0. Think I want to do something about this. And slowly but surely, I just started to get interested in learning about creativity, leadership, marketing, content, anything, entrepreneurship, anything that would make me better. And my goal now became make today better than yesterday. And the way that you do that is by learning something every day. So by design, for the last decade, I've read for 30 minutes first thing in the morning when I woke up every single day to guarantee that today is better than yesterday.
I think something very important, in my opinion, is what you mentioned earlier too. Like, you kind of have to hit like this low point to know what it feels like to be at the bottom. Because for me, like a very foundational thing about that I use like in my journey is, first and foremost, I am scared as shit as that feeling I had when I was doing what I hated. And honestly, like, you know, everyone says find your why, and I agree with all that stuff too. But a big part of why I go so hard is because I'm scared of that feeling, and like I'm running away from it. Like I'm running away from it, and the reward of that is happiness doing with what I love to do. And I love how you touched on self-awareness, because I think that's a very challenging thing that, you know, us people have to do. And it's a constant everyday battle to look at yourself in the mirror and be very honest with yourself, saying, am I using every minute, every hour of this day to get to where I want to be? And I think that, you know, it's very easy to write that off and kind of put things off, like procrastinating. But I think like the people that have that sense of urgency on a healthy level, like not like in a panicky way, but on a healthy level of being organized of your time and having that sense of urgency on a daily basis, those are the people who kind of come out on top and are more, let's say, like less stressed because they feel more on top of their schedule and more organized. Like, would you agree with that?
Yeah. So one thing that I've become is a master of language. So I love listening to the words that people use. So you had said 2 things around self-awareness for most people: challenging and battle. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's heavy. It's like I have to wake up every day and being like, oh, I've got to go to the gym. It's like, wait a second, what? Like and that's why people have a hard time with consistency of anything, certainly in the fitness side of things, where they feel like it's I have to do. But when you frame your life as a get to do, you get to do everything. And then I'm a creating coach. So I come from the perspective of, what would you love to create today? day? Or what would you love to create in this moment? For me, it's a play. It's a dance. So my self-awareness is all about the architecture of lifestyle design, because one of my favorite quotes that I was taught is live by design, not by default. Default is showing up and just being cool with the status quo. Lifestyle design is about your ability to have self-awareness to say, I can do anything that I want in my entire life. And I choose in this moment to live and do what I want. And I love how you talked about running away from that which you hated, because for me, I completely agree. It's like, how in the world do you turn into this person when you weren't that person? Mm-hmm. You know how? Because I'm not slinging home equity loans at a Fifth Third Bank call center. This will get you to wake up early, work out, read, work on your personal growth and development, to do everything possible to not live that life. Because I lived that life for 10 years and it was not the way it is today. I love my life and every second of it. I can't say that's the way that I was.
Yeah, I kind of want to dive more into what you're talking about earlier about like habits and routines, because I read a lot of, mindset type books as well, and I can name like 10 books like that all talk about like habits and how important that is, like Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi, The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, Atomic Habits by James Cleary, The Compound Effect. All these books, they all kind of are worded a little differently, but they have the same concept of you got to build habits and routines and consistency, and your momentum will skyrocket off of that. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Love it. And I'll add one more book to that, The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma.
Okay.
It's A+. It's awesome. I completely agree, because the way that you want to think about this is like, all right, we want to architect not only just success, but a life that we love. And a lot of people miss this because they think that life is only business and money, but they fail to realize that we want to live a holistic life where we can actually sleep, we can actually do things that we love, and we can fit everything in there because we have more than enough time to get everything done. So you start to say, all right, what are the most important things in my life? The non-negotiables, the things that you say, I am 100 out of 100 on in my life without any compromise. So for me, 2 examples are, number 1, learn something every day. Like I said, that's a non-negotiable for me. Every day I'm learning something. And number 2, no negativity, because I got to the point right when I was at 0 and I was like, all right, what's going to happen? What's going to help me accomplish my goals faster? Positivity or negativity? Well, positivity, of course. Negativity is going to take you further away from where you want to go. Therefore, negativity has no place in my life and does not serve me. So it is now a 0 in my life, like binary, 1 or 0. So because of this, I no longer have negativity in my life. So now you see your non-negotiables, and then you say, all right, what does my perfect day look like that wipe everything off of your calendar? And you're like, you can do whatever you want today. What does that look like? And boom. So for me, it's like, all right, I'm going to read. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do some journaling and free writing. I'm probably going to shoot hoops. I'm going to create a video or 2, some podcasts. I'm going to connect with friends, and maybe I'll go for a run outside. Boom. That's what my perfect day looks like. All right, now let's start architecting how we create that during our day. And a lot of people say, but you know what, guys, I just don't have enough time. That's a load of crap. It's a lack of prioritization and action, because they'll tell you all the shows they watch on Netflix, but then when it comes to how are you creating yourself, because remember, we're running away from that crappy version of ourselves that we didn't like. Yep. So we by design are going to stack the habits and routines, and this becomes autopilot and second nature because you are so in love with your vision in the moment of what you're doing. So I legitimately enjoy writing and reading and creating, to where this isn't like a big heavy thing of, oh my God, I've got to do my morning routine. I love my morning routine because it turns me into the best version of myself.
Me and Jacob always talk about like the times we go out of town, like for a couple of days for whatever reasons, like we're always talking about like, I just want to get home and like get back in the routine. Like it's just, it feels weird being away from it for too long. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Do you travel a lot for business or just for personal?
For personal pre-pandemic, yes. When things like I met my wife in Switzerland. We love to travel and have fun with my friends. More recently, and having a newborn kid, not as much, but I want to add something to what you said. So when you get out of your routine, what do you do? So one of my principles is the quicker you can get back into your routine, the better. So I've created a trigger in myself. When I travel and I get back on Sunday night or whatever, boom, here comes Monday morning. I go to the gym every day, but on Mondays. But most people are like, but you know what? You got in late, you're working, you can take today off. Well, one day starts to build the negative momentum because day number 2 comes and someone's like, hey guys, I got tickets to a new concert. You want to come? You're like, hell yeah, man, I would love to. Boom, somehow you skip your workout that day. One day turns into 2, turns into 7, turns into 2 weeks, turns into a month. I want to stop the negative momentum immediately and build the positive momentum by getting into my routine as quickly as possible.
Yeah, one thing I realized. Sorry, you don't want to say.
Go ahead.
One thing I realized is momentum is always going, and you can either use it to your advantage or it's gonna use you for its advantage. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna take you. So you gotta always we call it Uncle Mo, right? Momentum. I think that's like a very key thing because, like what you said earlier too, like once you do habits and routines for a good amount of time, you don't even want to stop doing it because like it just becomes like a part of you and it's like second nature. So it feels weird when you get out of it. And to me, like that's kind of what sparks motivation as well. Like once you kind of get in those habits, like and that becomes a part of you, you become motivated and you start to love it because it becomes ingrained as like who you are on a day-to-day basis, you know?
And that is the key. So I actually believe the next level for everyone is to go from motivated to inspired, because when you start to get on that growth path, there's no such thing as motivation for me because that is the entry point to the game. If you're not motivated, you're not playing the game that we're playing. I'm inspired to take action because the things that I want to create in my life. But you said something, who you are. And this is part of my coaching philosophy and one of the most important things that I have ever learned when it comes to personal growth. Your ability to create who you are every single day will create the lens that you see the world, the action that you take, and ultimately the results you create in your life. So what does it mean to who you are? Well, I like to think of myself the same way you would a computer boot sequence. So when you turn your computer on, it runs a series of programs that once it turns on, it's like, hey, I'm the best version of a computer. I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. Well, when it comes to creating who you are, wouldn't it make sense that we would want to create a boot sequence for ourselves, just like the computer that says, hey, every single day for Rob, Ryan, and Jacob to be the best versions of ourselves? What are the programs or sequences or habits and routines that we can create that'll get us to the best version of ourselves? And the thing that I learned that is most important is the story you tell yourself, because the story you tell yourself will then manifest into the world. Because if you say, I am a loser versus I'm a force of attraction, which of those two things are going to get you the results? But listen to the self-talk that so many people use. So previously, like challenging and battle, and there's so much negativity in the world that when things don't go our way and we're so invested in our dreams and I want something so bad, it's easy for our self-talk and our self-chatter to say, I'm not enough, we're lacking, it's self-limiting, I'm fearful. Well, that story is not serving us. So by design, every single day, I have a series of declarations that I speak out loud, that I feel into and I visualize, that creates who I am every single day so that every day I'm the best version of myself.
Yeah, man. And I 100% agree. I think those affirmations are like very important. And I think on top of that, maybe even more important is to take action, because, you know, I think there's no better way to create belief in yourself than proving to yourself that you're the shit. Like, yeah, because I've realized that the times where I proved to myself over time, like, that I did exactly what I said I was going to do, and I made the promises I kept to myself about what I wanted to become. Then that confidence started sparking, and then the motivation was kind of coming more naturally. But what's your advice to that kid that, let's say he's in your spot where he's been doing this for 10 years of, like, he's got in a situation he's not happy with, and he's he's heard like a conversation that you and me or us three have had, and he's like, you know what, I want to become kind of in that mindset frame that they are. Because I remember like when I first came out of that situation, that tough situation, it wasn't easy to become inspired and to, you know, to listen to those affirmations I was telling myself. It took a lot of work and momentum and a couple years to like really get to a space where I was like proud of. So what's your advice to that kid who's just trying to get out of that hole right now? What's the first step?
So the first step of it is belief. And for me, this is so powerful that when I looked at the journey that I was on, I was like, all right, what's going to stop my dreams from happening? You know, the answer is giving up and quitting. And I looked, and all the statistics say the success rate of entrepreneurship is trash. It's like 70, 80, 90%, whatever it is. Irrelevant to me, but that's just what they say. Yeah. So I was like, I know I need to specialize in belief in myself. No one is ever going to believe in you more than you believe in yourself. So for me, one of the declarations I speak out loud every single morning is, I am that I believe. And I sit there and I feel into it. And to sort of yes and what you said, I then collect evidence in the world. So like you said, you go and do something, you're like, boom. But there's a term, collecting evidence. So now you can create who you are in your life by doing things. And that becomes the evidence for feeding the belief. And one of the things, there's a small distinction between an affirmation and a declaration. And an affirmation is good. We're putting these positive vibes and positive energy out there. But oftentimes, people don't believe the affirmations, and it's in a future state. They're like, I'm working towards being this thing that I do not have right now. But what I think most people fail to realize, including this person that we're giving the advice to, who's starting at number one, is that you can declare this and you are this right now. So imagine standing on the top of a mountain and being, I am that I believe. Boom. You are declaring this. There is no puppy dogs and rainbows about this. You are this in the moment. And we all have the ability to choose the story we tell ourselves. So another one, you mentioned the word confidence. One thing I speak out loud, I am the confidence that I belong. And I sit there and I envision myself meeting anyone from Jay-Z to the CEO of Red Bull to you name it, and me rolling up and like, boom, I've got this confidence that I belong because I'm a one of one and they're a one of one. And all of this is our ability to create a story for ourselves and live it. And if you're going to live a story, you might as well live your most powerful version of a story. So for me, the epitome of this is I am the happiest person on earth, shining my light on everyone. So I legitimately speak that I'm the happiest person on earth. But here's the thing. Both of you can be the happiest person on earth. So can be the person who's starting at zero right now who doesn't love their life. Because we all have the option to step into whatever the powerful story is that we're going to tell ourselves, because this is a way of being. This becomes our lens of seeing the world. It's not the future I want to be. I am this. And when you build the belief and you build the story in yourself that you are this now, you can't help but attract the action and the results in your life because you're living out as being belief or confidence or the happiest person on earth. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, a key takeaway for me from this is self-reliance and individualism. And that's something that I preach, is that, you know, as an individual, you do have the power to produce that self-belief, that confidence, to produce those actions. And I just want to say, I think with social media and such an interconnected world, we feel like we have to rely on others for happiness or self-belief or confidence or approval. But the reality is those things are already inside of us. And it's part of your self-development journey to be self-reliant and to be an individual and to take those things and create a great life for yourself. And so I'm an absolute proponent of each person recognizing and utilizing the power that they naturally have, because we all have that. And one other thing to touch on, you said that, you know, something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, but you said, you know, like your confidence, your self-belief and all that put you at a point where you can shake hands with anyone and you say, you know, I believe, I have this confidence, we're equals. And that's so true because, you know, Ryan and I work in entertainment and people get so scared because they feel like Jay-Z or whoever it is just magnitudes ahead of them. And maybe from, an accolade or a Grammy standpoint or whatever it is, sure, you could say that. But the reality is that you can make just as great strides in your personal development journey as they did. You're not so different than they are.
100%. And one of the things that I love to say about this is I speak out loud. I am a champion for everyone. And this actually runs two ways. So I'm a champion for myself, meaning one of one. Rob is living the best version of himself. I am a champion of champions. And boom, I actually do that where everyone's looking like, whoa, there's our champion. But number two is I am a champion for everyone. So I can be a champion for both of you. I'm a champion for that person at zero right now who's having a tough time. I'm a champion for Jay-Z. So how do you create confidence to roll up to Jay-Z and act like he's no different than anybody else? Because I come from the place that I'm a champion for him and everybody else. And when you're a champion, you're there to support someone. You're like, man, I'm there for you. What can I do to help? And that perspective and lens allows you to, one, see yourself as number one. So now you're a number one and you're rolling up to another number one being like, what's up, man? And you're showing them love.
And I think that comes from a place of you understand that you're giving good value to that person, and you're not just taking. Like, because I think a lot of people, when they approach other people who, let's say, are higher up, whatever that means than them, they have like a very take type attitude. But if you approach it with like a very giving attitude of like showing, like, even if it's what you just said, like just showing love and like just giving love, and like that's value in itself to that person, because everyone wants positivity in their life, you know what I mean? So I think when you approach it in that sense, instead of a take attitude, that also helps with the situation too, right?
100%. And I want to make sure that I answer your question about the first step that I would take for that person, because actually we just sort of went into a loop that's going to answer it. There's actually three things. Number one, choice. We all have the ability to choose. So think about someone who wants to quit smoking, that they smoke until they get to the point where they say, I'm done, and they throw that pack away. That choice, in 1 second, they went from I'm a smoker to I'm a non-smoker. And when you realize at any point you have the ability to choose, I'm done with that old life. I am no longer like that. So I was done with the working in a call center life. Boom. That is my choice. I also choose to be happy. I choose to believe. I choose to be confident. And then the next thing is commitment. So when you make this choice that you're about this life, now you go all in. So one of the terms that I love that I learned is burn the boats. So when I left my well-paying job to go to zero to live my dreams, my mom would call me and be like, Rob, why don't you go back to selling advertising? You're making so much good money and it was so safe and so nice. And I'm like, Mom, you can just stop asking that. I'm never going back. I've burned the boats. And essentially what that means is there is no plan B for me. Yeah. I am all about this commitment, all in. So how do you create habits, routines, mindsets, and ways of being? How do you wake up early? How do you work out? Because my commitment is so strong to be the best version of myself. And then number three is energy. Because Ryan, you talked about showing love to Jay-Z. There's an energy you radiate when you're that person. There's the person who you can feel the taking and the sliminess of them. There's the person who's bashful, who doesn't take the opportunity. Or there's someone who just radiates energy where you're just like, hey, what's up, man? Great to meet you. And they're like, man, there's a vibe and something about that person. But guess what? That costs $0. Yeah. It costs nothing for choice, nothing for commitment, and nothing for energy. And if you realize that you can create this at zero or negative zero, absolute game changer.
Man, I think that in my opinion, at least, like the choice is the hardest part for a lot of people, that first one, because I think as human beings, with commercials and, entertainment, all these things, we kind of naturally just get swayed to like what other people think and all these things. We kind of sway with society. We don't have that natural like ability to just like commit something for ourselves. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people struggle with that. But I think, in my opinion, to get that choice is going to take in the beginning, a lot of discipline and probably forcing yourself to do something that feels very, very uncomfortable. And I think that's the part people get stuck on. But I've realized once you force yourself and do those things that you said, a feeling overcomes you of like, wow, like I actually have power over myself. I have power over my mind. And like that actionable step is kind of what proved to yourself, because I feel like it's one thing to just like tell yourself like, I am. But if you actually like put in that effort to make it happen, and then you cross that wall of choice, and you're like, oh shit, like I actually like did that. I actually did it. Like you get that power of yourself, and then the commitment follows. So that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. And here's the thing that a lot of people fail to realize, like, well, Rob, what was it like when you went to leave the job to go all in? That the hard part is not the choice. The choice gets you in the game. That everyone thinks that the hardest part of this thing is when you choose to actually believe and invest in yourself and live the life and create the life that you want to live. No, that's the easy part. Now is the roller coaster nature of music, sports, creativity, social media, brand building, everything else of making your dreams happen. But you want to be in the ball game. And that ball game starts with a choice, and then you figure everything out. So I completely yes and everything you're saying, but realize right now, if you're thinking about do I or do I not, there's 3 of us right now who are like, we're already on that life.
Yeah. Facts.
Mm. You said earlier that challenge and battle was such a powerful word, and I was thinking about that during the conversation, and I believe that you should embrace challenge and you should embrace battle, because the reality is that nothing comes easy. No self-development journey or no results or nothing worth doing is going to come without a challenge. And I think that we should become more challenge-oriented people and look forward to challenge. I think that's kind of on par with a couple of things we said, or maybe Ryan said earlier in the conversation about, that it takes discipline. You're not going to like to do it sometimes, but at the end of the day, you just have to know that the result it's going to bring to help better your life is going to be well worth it, because you're going to feel the best and you're going to be living the best version of yourself. And I think that once you truly embrace that challenge, you face the result, and you have the accolade, the result, or whatever it is, that first one, that's just where it snowballs.
Yeah, so everyone's about to get the quickest masterclass in challenge and battle ever. So, number 1, here's some books for you. The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. The best book I have ever read, because I did not want to quit. So I'm going to specialize by design in belief. And The Obstacle is the Way is about turning the obstacles and adversity into the way. So if there's a wall in front of you, you find a way through, under, around, you get through it, and that becomes the way. So specialize in being someone who sees adversity and loves it, because guess what? Every single day there's going to be adversity when you're on this journey. It's by design. So you're not going to show up one day and be like, oh my God, something bad happened. No, we expect these things to happen. That is the game that we signed up for. Number 2, on discipline, there's a book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Absolutely fantastic. He's a Navy SEAL. And one of the things that he says is discipline equals freedom. Mm-hmm. Well, what does that mean? When we talked about self-awareness, you can do anything. You have all of these choices. But at the same time, structure actually allows you to create more freedom in your life, because you remove the choices that don't serve you. And you create this discipline that allows you to do more, because by design, you're focused on the good things, not the bad things. Number 3, if you really want to become an expert at this, there's a mental toughness program out there by Andy Frisella called 75 Hard. Mm-hmm. And I completed 75 Hard and the Live Hard program. And I can tell you without a doubt, it is one of, if not the best things I have ever done in my entire life. Is this hard? 100%. Will it transform your life forever? 100%. And I was sitting on Siesta Key Beach in Sarasota, listening to his podcast for the second time. And he said, 75 days is a small price to pay to become the best version of yourself. And I sat there and I was like, I'm not interested. It's about to be Summertime Shy, Lollapalooza, Cubs games, street festivals. I don't want to give all of that up. And then in the back of my mind, I said, oh, really, Rob? You're all in on living your best life and living your dreams. And here's this thing that says it will guarantee you in 75 days that you will be the best version of yourself. you're telling me you're not going to do that? And I was like, shit. For the reason that I did not want to do it, I did it because I saw the weakness in myself, the excuse, because that's what it'll teach you. There's always an excuse. Oh, I've got a wedding. I've got a bachelor party. Oh, I've got this test. You name it. Well, guess what? Welcome to life. And this crucible it teaches you is the best. And then there's 2 quotes that I live by as it relates to all this. Number 1, get comfortable being uncomfortable. By design, I seek out discomfort. Why? Because I want to be able to sit there and bathe in it like you're in a cold plunge. And there's the people who touch that cold water and they scream like a little bitch. And then there's the other people who get in that cold water and they've got that steel look like a lion. Roar, I'm a champion. Boom. That's how I look at this. And then number 2, prepare for what's difficult when it's easy. So many people love life when things are good, but when times get tough, how do you step up to the plate? So for me, when things are going good, boom, I'll jump in a cold plunge. I'll do 75 hard. I'll run a marathon. I will do the things that are challenging by design because you never know when all of a sudden a global pandemic comes and completely changes the entire world, or a family member gets sick or you get sick. But when you have that mindset, prepare for what's difficult when it's easy, boom. So that's how I embrace challenge and battle.
Man, that's awesome. That's pretty dope. I love what you said earlier too about you don't have a plan B, and I think that's a very big thing in society that a lot of people fall back on because everyone loves that safety net, right? But in the back of your head, if you always have some kind of plan B just in case, like maybe you're 98% in, but like you have that 2% of like, well, worst case scenario, I have a plan B. I feel like even having that will screw you over because if you're not all in, that 2% will catch up to you with some kind of hard adversity, and you will give in at some point, and you will take that plan B when it gets really, really hard. And so my opinion is you have to have 100% faith in just your one plan, and I'm a big believer that things will work out. Like if you push through and long enough and you work hard enough, things will work out. Maybe not the way exactly that you thought they would, but it will work out. And I think that one thing is the main separator between successful people and people who, let's say, the failed entrepreneurs percentage. I think that was the one difference. That like the main difference is that these guys just didn't quit and they didn't choose the plan B. They fought through it. And then what I realized too, to help myself through like hard situations, is I always remind myself that whenever I go through phases of just like misery and just like it's hard, like it's very hard, the adversity is like at an all-time high, I always remember at the other side of that is always a breakthrough. There's always something really good that happens afterwards that changes everything. And the hardest times of my life, dude, when I push through, literally like the next month or the next couple months or whatever, a huge transformation would happen in my mind and in myself and in my life. And I feel like those breakthroughs are like everything, man.
Crazy. That's how growth happens. Yeah. Everyone would love to get all comfortable being on the couch, being like, man, I'm growing so much doing nothing. But right, it's the adversity, you get through it, and it's just a series of things. And I completely agree with what you're saying. So here's how I would frame this. Your plan A and plan B is all in on yourself. It doesn't have to be a specific path because you're right. You may say, I want to headline Lollapalooza one day. Well, if that doesn't happen, does that mean your life is a failure? No, because you may end up becoming the producer for the person who headlines Lollapalooza. Yeah. There's so many different paths in life. And then that becomes your backup plan is yourself. Yeah. You are the product. So why do we invest in our personal growth and development? Because I am the product. No one can ever take away from you what you learn in your mindset. When I realized this, my entire life changed. Why would you learn? Because I could make $0 of revenue for a year, but if I read 50 books, no one can take that from me. Yeah. Boom. I'm getting better every single day. And the number 2, it's all about karma. If you're getting hit by a crap ton of adversity right now, smile, because guess what's on the other side? An equal amount of good. If you're someone who's about that life, and I certainly am. So now when things happen in my life, good and bad, immediately my reframing is like, a woman spilled her drink on me on the airplane. Of course, I wasn't happy about that. But I was like, the good news is something good is about to happen. Maybe I get a free ticket to a show or a parking space, or something bad happens to somebody that I know. Well, something greater is about to happen. You got to believe that. There's an energy to it.
Amazing. Everyone, we're listening to someone who watches people transform and helps and champions people to help them transform their life. Now, some people say, I'm average. I can't do my dad wasn't rich. I wasn't this. I can't be this, whatever that. How many, Rob, quote unquote, average people have you seen completely transform their life?
Well, trick question, because by design, the answer would be none.
Okay.
Because if you're average, you're not about this life. So people oftentimes ask me this question. They're like, well, Rob, isn't this for everyone? And I'm like, no, this is only for people who are on the growth path. Because by design, 80 to 90% of the world is going to listen to this. Well, they won't listen to it. But if they did, this is like speaking hieroglyphics. They're like, I have no idea what these people are talking about. So no, those people aren't going to, because they don't seek these things, because they live a life by default. Remember, live by design, not by default. The world lives by default. That's why there's just things just thrown at us all the time, and people just accept it for what it is. So for me, this is about the people who recognize I have that greatness inside of me. I want to live my best life. I'm taking ownership of this. And when you take that ownership, boom, those are the people that I turn into superstars, because they are superstars. The second they start working with me, boom, I'm the biggest champion for themselves, because I'm going to show them the things that they don't even see in themselves. You listen to their language, their thoughts, their actions. They already have everything. They just weren't aware of those things. And that's how we create the new beliefs and perspectives and lenses to help you create the best version of yourself.
I think that's the biggest difference, is the desire. The people who actually genuinely desire to have this kind of life, you know, because I used to think like everybody wanted this, like everyone wants, but now I realize a very small amount of people actually do have this fire in them to want to become like that, you know. And personally, I think those are the people who end up changing the world, you know. But they go through the hardest hardships, but they have that desire in them to become that. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people just kind of are cool being on autopilot, you know, just living. They got their friend group that they go out with on the weekends, and that's it until they have kids, and that's it. But yeah, I think that's the biggest difference, right? Like that little desire, that seed of desire that someone has.
100%. And once you have that, you plant seeds everywhere. And those seeds grow. Sometimes that seed might plant today and grow tomorrow, but it might take 5, 10, 20, 30 years. And guess what? This is part of mindset. We're playing the long game. I don't expect any day of my life to all of a sudden have that home run happen. But guess what? I've planted so many seeds, it's inevitable that all of a sudden those bad boys are going to start sprouting in the best times possible.
Man, something's got to happen, like, you know, because I think a lot of people too, they think in the back of my mind, and I say this because I thought this too for a long time. Well, what if I put in 10 years, 15 years of like growth and mindset and all this stuff, but nothing happens? Like, but things inevitably have to happen in a certain time span of you growing. Like I'm a big believer that, like, you know, if you put so much pressure into the universe, something's going to give. You can't, like, things just have to happen, you know? It's just natural.
That's impossible. Yeah. There is no, if you're telling me somebody dedicates a decade of their life to growing in all areas of their life and nothing happens, feel free to send them my way, because that does not exist, because their lens in their world is also incorrect, because that makes me believe that they're living for a future state. I'm looking right now on my wall and it says, happiness is not a destination, it's a way of life. Because that person who's on that growth journey, all right, it seems like they're trying to climb a mountain and they only know when they get there, they plant that flag. But the shift becomes when you realize the blessing that is every single day. Because for me, every day, boom, boom, I've got a decade's worth of opportunities. Get better, connect with awesome people, have fun, be happy, live the best life over and over and over again. And one of the biggest game changers for me is when I saw my dreams from planting a flag at the top of a mountain to the day-to-day journey of the dream. Everything changed because I was no longer living in lack and, when I get there, or I'm not there yet, or when am I going to get there? And instead, it becomes your energy and your mindset and your way of being of every day is the best day of your life because you can choose for it to be the best day of your life. And when you do that, you're naturally going to attract and create amazing things.
That's
Awesome.
Rob Cressy, you have absolutely blown me away. Absolutely blown
Good.
me away.
I'm glad that you were receptive to hearing these things. You guys asked incredible questions. I'm rooting for you guys. I was checking you guys out on Instagram. I love the way that you've both invested in yourselves, seeing the pictures, the songs, the stories of hitting personal records. Like, you guys have so many amazing things on the horizon, and continue to do this, continue to spread positivity in the world because it's only going to compound and create more things for you.
Thank you so much, Rob. Man, I really appreciate that. And I'm just crazy about you now. I got to tell everybody about you. That's me walking away from this. I got to tell everybody about Rob Cressy. Where can people find you? What's your website? Do you encourage people to reach out to you and DM you?
Yeah, crazy thing. You reach out to me, I will get back to you. But remember, most people are like, I don't believe him or I'm not going to take action. Yeah. No, literally, I've got a 100 out of 100 success rate because there is a silent majority and a vocal minority. So I'm hoping there's one, maybe two people who will reach out. You can hit me up on Instagram or LinkedIn at Rob Cressy. You can go to robcressy.com, my website, and I'll even give you my email, rob@robcressy.com. One of the things that I have is I give away free coaching sessions to anybody who's on that growth path and wants to talk about, hey, how do I create that roadmap for myself? So drop me a line, go to robcressy.com. I would love to be in conversation with you. I'd love to be a champion for you because you guys mentioned it. We are the people who end up changing the world by choosing that we're going to do that. I am one of those people. I have a goal of helping 10 million people. And the reason I do that is because I've seen what it's like to live with this and without this, just like you guys have. And now that I've got this, man, this is the greatest thing ever. I want to share this with the world because I want everyone to have the same gifts that I have, that I've created that cost nothing. We all get to choose and do this ourselves. So robcressy.com.
Rob, you're the man. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. Inside the RV, episode 59. Hit up Rob. If the small percentage of people who will actually do it, do it. You're the man, Rob. Thank you so much.